Good morning. In today's lecture, we'll be covering the unit-wise questions on the chapter on hormones. In question number one, they ask us the role of adrenaline. Now, the two most important hormones in endocrinology are adrenaline and glucose, and you have to know the respective roles in the human body. Adrenaline is primarily used to convert glycogen into glucose when the body needs glucose for energy. And insulin tends to revert to the exact opposite. Insulin tends to convert glucose into glycogen, and glycogen is then stored in the liver. So the how, and you need to know that the deficiency of insulin results in a condition called diabetes mellitus. And there are two types of diabetes mellitus type 1 and type 2. Type 1 occurs genetically. It occurs in infants at a very low, at a very young level, and in type 2 diabetics, they usually get the disease when they get old, above 50 years of age. So I've given you a rapid overview of the chapter. So we'll begin the questions. In question number one, they say the role of adrenaline. Obviously, adrenaline converts glycogen to glucose and it's destroyed in the kidney. Now, in question number two, they ask us that a person, yeah, these are the cardinal signs of diabetes mellitus. That a person has you can remember it by the three P's: polydipsia, polyphagia, and polyuria. Polydipsia means increased thirst, polyphagia means increased the urge to eat, and similarly polyuria, that increased amount of urination. Now, why does a diabetic person need to urinate much more? Because due to the deficiency of insulin, whatever food he eats, the excess glucose is stored in the body, and thus the excess glucose thus is excreted in the urine. Now you need to know that normally the urine only contains water and the excess amount of urea. So normally our human body, the kidney is not designed to filter glucose. So whenever an abnormal thing is comes out, for example, glucose, it eventually disrupts the kidney and disrupts the filtration process in the glomerulus. So it is harmful for the kidney. So coming back to the question, which condition does the doctor diagnose? Obviously, it's diabetes. Now, what are the symptoms of diabetes? Now, you need to know the difference between signs and symptoms. Signs are the hidden manifestations, which, for example, can be diagnosed by a test, whereas symptoms are the external manifestations, which can be noticeable and observable by everyone. For example, a person who is frightened, the visible manifestation from of him could be that he could be sweating, he could be agitated. However, the sign could be that he would have a fast heart rate or tachycardia. So now the symptoms of diabetes are that obviously in this case the concentration of blood in both urine and your blood is increased. So is the answer. Now in question number four, what are the cause, signs, and symptoms for treatment of diabetes mellitus? Not what people who suffer from diabetes use are insulin injections, and there are wide variety of insulin from short acting to rapid acting to long acting insulins. You would have seen if you would have visited a person who is diabetic, they usually use insulin pens, and the most preferable is the one that they take it that they take insulin about a half an hour before the meal, because it takes an half an hour to for the insulin to work. So now obviously the treatment, what is the treatment? Treatments and insulin injection. This narrows our options to B and C. What would be the cause? The cause is that they're damaged by pancreas cells, and which cells? Islet of pancreas, which are the B cells, are destroyed, and the signs and symptoms are the excess sugar in urine. In question number five, they say what it describes its rate of secretion and concentration in the blood of insulin. So insulin, yes, you know that whenever the body, the concentrate, the rate of secretion and concentration in the blood both vary according to the need of a person. For example, if a person is in a race and he needs large amount of glucose, the rate of secretion will be obviously decrease, and thus the concentration of insulin in the blood will also decrease. In Now in question number six, they ask that a person who suffers from diabetes, we've just previously talking about it, that obviously both the concentration of glucose in blood and urine will be raised. What is a sign of diabetes? Raised blood glucose levels. This is a sign. Now you would like to see it done. You would see that once you learn the core concept, the much of the questions revolve around the same thing, and they've just made the tested the same concept in a wide variety of ways in different questions. So now, like I told you, that in people who use insulin, they take it about 30 minutes before. Why they take it before? Because it takes about 30 minutes for the insulin to work. And this varies in different types of insulin, such as Lispro, Aspart, and glucine. So now they asked at one point was an insulin injection given. So obviously insulin would decrease the blood glucose levels. However, if like I told you before as well, that if it was the blood glucose levels have already started to decrease, so it couldn't have been taken at point B or point C, because at that time the blood glucose levels have already decreased. But what caused the decrease? The decrease was caused by the sharp, steep slope was caused by point A. Yes, answer. What decreases as a result of adrenaline? Adrenaline converts glycogen to glucose. So what decreases it? Yeah, digestive activity. I hope you studied that when a person is is in a state of shock, or you would have learned that the sympathetic response is stimulated in a case of fight or flight response. What happens is that the primary function of the body is the main energy is diverted to all those organs which need to think, for example, the brain and the legs and the skeletal muscles in order to run or in order to fight. So the digestive system, which relies on peristalsis, less amount of energy is supplied to it. So the digestive system and the activity as a result decreases. How adrenaline affects, yeah, obviously the glucose uptake is increased, the carbohydrate, and the conversion is from glycogen to glucose D. Yeah, so whenever a person runs and adrenaline is secreted, the heartbeat increases and liver converts glycogen to glucose. Similar is the case in X and Y. The answer is there's a sharp fall over here and the sharp increase over here. So X and Y are insulin and adrenaline respectively, a sign of diabetes mellitus. Yeah, glucose in urine. Okay, that's a sign. And yeah, when a person is shocked, you need to know what happens in a sympathetic response. Person's pupils are dilated, hair get erected, his heart rate beats faster and faster, and there's a decrease in the speed of peristalsis. So what is the answer? The answer is question number 15. Explain the shape of the graph after X. Yeah, so after X, there's a sharp increase in blood glucose levels. The suffer, what, yeah, the person most probably would have eaten a sugary food. Why is this the option? Because if the person had been suffering from diabetes mellitus, the sugar level wouldn't have come down on its own. So as the person isn't suffering from diabetes mellitus, after he's taken a sugary food, the blood sugar level has peaked up, but after some time it has gradually slowed down due to the release of insulin. This is again a repeated question. And here as well, the A is the answer. A over here is the answer. And this wraps up our video on hormones. And these are primarily all the questions which end up in the exams. Thank you.